Everybody want to be a chef, including me.
Chef boy, I did.
Today we're making fish yassa. It is a simple dish. It's made with fish and a lot of onions, and it's usually served over white rice. I am going to serve mine over quinoa. So let's get started. So I'm working with tilapia. I had it cleaned and scaled at the farmer's market. They also cut it up for me in these small pieces. I seasoned my tilapia with lemon pepper seasoning, jumbo, and sea salt. And then I am frying each piece in the pan with cooking oil. I'm also chopping tons of onions. I think I chopped about 5 or 6 really large onions because that's what this dish is really all about. So you see me putting the fish in the pan right now, and I had already begun cooking some fish when I decided, oh, I can make a video. So here we are putting the fish in the pan and making this video. So, disclaimer, guys, I am not a chef. I am not a videographer. I am just a girl trying to figure this thing out. So, I wanted to show you guys how I chop the onions. I just basically cut it down the middle, take the skin off, and then slice them like this. Usually with yassa, the onion pieces are pretty big because you want to be able to see and taste the onions, because as you know, with onions, they usually dissolve when you cook them really small, or I'm sorry, chop them really small and cook them. They usually just dissolve in the food. So with yassa, you want your onion pieces to be a good size so that you can be able to see them and, you know, dress them over your food. So I finished chopping some of the onions. This still isn't enough because, as I said, it requires a lot of onions. Just separate them, make sure they're not stuck together, and you're good to go. So here we are checking on the fish. Definitely making sure that each side of the fish is cooked very well. You want it to have a light brown siding. The outside should be, you know, fried and brown. I like to cook in this pan because the fish does not stick to the bottom of the pan, which is really good because you don't want to, especially with fish, you don't want it to stick, because if it sticks, then you just lose basically all of your fish. All your fish is stuck to the pan. So you definitely want to get a non-stick pan. And of course, you don't have to have so much oil. You want to make sure that you cook on a medium heat, so that it won't cook too fast. You cook slow and good and perfect. Take your time, let the fish cook. I like for my fish to be really brown, cooked very well on both sides. You don't want to rush it. That's one of the things that I have come to learn, is that when you're preparing African food, you have to be in the kitchen almost all day. But here I am adding some more fish to the pan because I already took out those smaller pieces. So I'm adding these. One of the things I did notice was that I asked the farmer's market person to cut my pieces up a little bit too small. I probably shouldn't have done that, especially for this dish. I should have asked for him to just give it to me big, you know, just one whole piece without cutting up very small. Here I am trying to show you what the fish, once it's really cooked well, what it should look like, and the inside of it, how it should look. Alright, so we're going to cook my larger pieces. And as you see, it's already breaking apart because they were sliced very small and very thin. I should have just, you know, asked for them to stay whole, which most dishes, mostly when I get this dish from my sister-in-law or even at a restaurant, the pieces are whole and they are really, really large. So I did not do that, and I should have if I wanted to be authentic. But I'm not. I'm learning. So here we go. Okay, so here is the fish when it's basically almost done. I wanted you guys to see the color of the fish, and this is the I guess screen thing that I use. I told you guys I am not a professional, so yes, I use this to drain the oil off of my fish because I don't like it to be too oily. I like to be able to taste the flavors in my fish and not necessarily too much oil. Um, I am going to now use the oil that I cooked my fish in, some of it, not too much, to now cook my onions. This is my African pan. This is the pan from my sister-in-law when I married my husband. So this pan is about 14, 15 years old. That is one of the traditions that they do have is when the bride is married, they will then gift the bride um, cooking utensils, cooking supplies to take to her new home. So this is, I guess, my bridal gift when I married Ibu. So I'm cooking the onions. As you see, I put a lot of onions in there. And onions, they tend to make a lot of water as well. So after cooking this down, I am going to take out some of the oil that was in there because I don't, as I said, I don't like too much oil in my um, in my food. I like for it to have the flavors, but not too much oil. So I am gonna take some of this oil out. So, as one thing I want you to pay attention to as well, before I take the water out, you see that I'm using a spatula to mix my food. The reason for that is because when I cook with fish, I like to be very gentle with the fish to not tear it, and so that the fish will hold its shape and it will stay on the bone. So I don't use the spoon because you tend to want to stir and stir and stir. Another thing about this dish is that it have a lot of flavors, which you're going to see. I'm going to start adding more seasoning to the onions because that's basically where all the flavors are held. A lot of lemon and um, mustard and things like that is going to be added. I'm also adding now some bell peppers. One thing that I do like about yassa is that I've had it with chicken yassa or fish yassa, and they're both really, really, really good. Um, I've also had it where people added a little bit of vegetables, or somebody even added olives to it before, which I thought was really good. I don't think my family like olives in their yassa, but I've had it with yassa, maybe a baby naming ceremony or some type of event where someone added olives, and I thought it was delicious. So you definitely can, add and critique and take things in and out as you need to fit what your taste buds are like. But it is a good dish because it is somewhat bitter, and it have like a lemon sour taste to it, but it's really, really good. So here I am adding some more seasoning. This is jumbo. Jumbo is a staple seasoning in Gambia. I'm adding some bay leaves, mustard, and I am also adding some more lemon pepper, which I seasoned my fish with it earlier, but I'm going to add some more. I'm going to press some garlic, and I'm also going to add some lemon juice. Now you could add some fresh squeezed lemon juice, which I did do that around the end to kind of top it off. But when you're cooking, you can add this lemon juice as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my bay leaves to the pot and all the seasoning. Now, this is the jumbo. I like to crunch it up and crush it up because you want it to be really, really, really fine because sometimes the pieces, they will just remain together. No matter how high the heat is, they will just stick together, and you don't want to get a big chunk of the seasoning when you're eating your food. So definitely crush that up really, really well. And as you see, I don't have that much oil anymore. I like it like this because I don't want it to be too oily where it's drowning my fish and drowning my rice. I don't like it like that. Some people do, but as I said, it's all a personal preference. You add or subtract the way that you feel best. I'm still taking the same masher and I am going to mash up the garlic and add that to the pot as well. Okay, so I'm adding the seasoning, the other seasoning. As you guys are probably wondering, where are the measurements? And we know that we don't cook with measurements. We just pour until the ancestors say stop. We pour and pour and pour, and of course, you want to taste your food in between. But hey, we have that cooking eye and smell and feel for the food that it is flavorful and it is where it needs to be. At this point, the food is smelling so good, and my kitchen is like, my belly is like, yes. So I'm going to add the fish to my onion mixture, and then we're going to let the fish cook a little bit to just incorporate all the flavors from the fish and the onions and the oil and the lemon and the mustard and the garlic and all of that. Just incorporate all of it together to make fish yassa. Okay, so I am mixing. I let it cook for a little while just to incorporate all the flavors together, and then I'm going to go ahead and get my quinoa. For those that may be interested in knowing about quinoa, quinoa have a lot of really great benefits versus the regular white rice. It has zinc, vitamins A, B, and E. It helps support bone and aids in metabolism, blood pressure, heart rhythm, iron, protein. It's good for the digestive system. It's good for kidney function and muscle concentration. So it's really, 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 really good for us. And we definitely enjoy it in our home. Even our kids, they love quinoa. So here is my finished plate. Fish yassa with quinoa, which is the colonizer's way of making the yassa. I know that my family members on the African coast are saying, no, this is not the way. But as I said, do what you think is best for you and your family. But here we are. I tried to make it look kind of fancy, and I pushed all the quinoa to one side to give it some flavor, but that didn't work. So then I said, oh, let me put it all in a bowl and try to make it look more presentable, which is what we have here. And of course, when we do that, you have to sprinkle it with some parsley to seal it off, and voila! Here it is, the colonizers fish yassa. My mother-in-law would probably say, did it. Mm-mm. As in to say, that's not it. But for real, guys, I am trying. My husband, he enjoys quinoa. He like it better than the white rice. So this is it. This is what I have. This is my presentation. This is my connection back to the African continent, Gambia to be exact. And I hope you guys enjoy. Bye.
I know you're a fool for them.
You guys ready?
Yes, single handshake, y'all. Come on.
Alright, let's do this.
Yo Kanla, I am 10 and my name is Yabasi. Yo Kanla, I am 13, my name is Ida. Yo Kanla,
My name is Simone and I'm the mommy.
Yo Kanla,
My name is Daddy, and Papa diddy pop, Papa diddy pop, Papa diddy pop, Papa diddy pop, Papa diddy pop.
Bye, man.